filtering in Ardupilot, scene 1, take 3, audio 77.
Welcome to the next IV Robotics video. In this one we'll be taking a look at notch filtering, how to set it up in Mission Planner, and a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes in Ardupilot. Notch filtering can be very helpful in dealing with vibrations. The autopilot, when you're using it, sees vibration much the same as any other disturbance like wind, so helping mitigate that can vastly improve performance and reliability. Specifically, we're going to be looking at dealing with the vibration coming from the motors. It tends to be very consistent, so it's fairly simple to remove and can have a pretty dramatic impact. So on screen we have the bode plot of a notch filter, which you can see looks exactly like you might expect. Just has a notch in the magnitude here at a set frequency, and that's going to be used to remove the vibrations at that frequency, ideally the ones coming from the motors. So this is a little bit simplistic, but you can see on the left side here, if you care to look at the code, the three main things we're taking into account to create this. You can control the magnitude, you can control the width, so you could compress it or expand it to catch more frequencies, and you do that with the damping ratio. And then you can also control what frequency the notch filter is at. And this, at least in form, is pretty similar to what Ardupilot is going to be spinning up to deal with vibration once you have the filter enabled. I'm going to go ahead and note how Ardupilot actually gets some of those parameters is from a FFT, or fast Fourier transform. So it's going to automatically analyze some of the sensor input and use that to pick out the frequency and bandwidth and all the other settings. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and pull up Mission Planner and go into actually enabling the filter. To set up the notch filter, open up Mission Planner, go to Config, and pull up the parameter list. Searching for FFT should bring up FFT enable. And once you set that, you are going to need to go do a quick test flight. You can see it's right here. Alright, and that test flight doesn't need to take long, just 30 seconds in altitude hold hovering should be sufficient, and then you're going to want to take a look at the logs before actually turning on the notch filter. There's two things you're going to want to look at. The first is this peak average, and as you can see here with this one, after takeoff, it's pretty consistent around a value, and you want to make sure that's the case for yours as well, because you don't want too wide of a range, wouldn't be particularly helpful. The other thing is the processing load on the flight controller. It is possible to overload it. Computing the FFT can be fairly intensive, so depending on what else you're doing, you can be using too much of the processing. Find both those things in the same menu, so if you review a log and then open a bin file, just use this one as an example. You can find the FTN1 over here with the peak, and then you can also find under PM the load. And you can see here at this flight we're going between like 20 and 30%, which is perfectly acceptable. So once you've taken a look at the logs, if everything looks the way you want, then you should be good to go ahead and enable the filter. So if you go to Config and pull up the parameter list again and search for ins_h, you can see you'll get enable again. And in this one, let's see here, there you go, ins HNTCH enable, turn that on, it'll enable the harmonic notch filter. Most of the parameters will load by default. As said before, the FFT picks out the frequency it needs to be set at on its own and will update. What you do need to set though is this reference, turn it to 1 so there's no scaling, and then the filter's enabled and you're all set up. After that, you should go fly again, make sure everything is performing well, and then take another look at the logs, and you can actually see the impact it's having on the vibrations, analyzing the gyro, etc. But that's it for this one. Let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like to see in the next one.